Hi guys, it's Anne here, and today's video is my 11th update for my Pan That Palette project for 2020. So how I'm doing this video is I'll go through the palette that I'm trying to pan for the year, then we'll talk about the palettes I picked in November, and then we'll introduce the palettes that I'm going to use in the month of December. My Pan That palette that I'm using for the year is the NYX Ultimate Shadow Palette in Warm Neutrals. And it doesn't look, I don't think, a whole lot different from the last time. We'll put the little picture on the screen. Honestly, I haven't looked at the pictures yet, so I don't know pan-wise if things are looking a whole lot different, except for the only shadow that I've really made a lot of progress in is this first shadow here. It's almost done, like almost done. I can't quite call it because there's like a tiny little sliver left in the corners, but yeah, this one's almost done. I've also been focusing on this shadow a little bit too. And then I'm still focusing on this one here and this one here. So I'm hoping, this one's got a really good dip in it. I think this one I can hit pan on. This one, I don't know if it's going to happen or not. It's just, so I did want to point out, I talked about these two shades being very similar and looking very similar, but this one is actually quite a bit deeper than this one. So while I was able to use this one a little bit more like liberally, I have to be a little bit more careful with this one because it is a lot deeper, and I'm just really, I don't use a lot of deep eyeshadows. So yeah, that's the progress. So fortunately we'll not be hitting pan on every single palette, but I feel like I've done pretty good compared to last year. I just did a little makeup inventory, and when I looked at my palette from last year, it's like, wow, I could have done a whole lot better last year than I did. So pretty happy with the progress on this. Last month it was 96.55. It is now 96.22 grams. It's a difference of 0.33 grams. In total, I've used 5.41 grams of this palette. Again, much less than last month. Last month was a stellar month of progress on this, but we'll get into why and the things that sort of took away from using this Pan That palette this past month. So the first palette I want to talk about, and we won't talk about a whole lot, is the Celestial Storm palette. So I did an entire video on this, so I used this quite a bit and did a number of different looks. I've now been thinking, and like the more I look at this, I think this is like a late summer, early fall type color scheme for me, and I think that's why I started really struggling with how do I use these, because I wanted to use the colors, but then things just didn't work as exactly how I wanted them to. I really kind of struggled playing with this. But I still, like, every time I look at this, like, I love this color scheme. It really, really inspires me, and I know, like I said in that video, it kind of challenges me. Like, it challenges me to go outside the box, think about eyeshadows a little differently. So I definitely really enjoyed this palette. Quality is really good. I would definitely be interested in getting other palettes from this line, or from this brand. The other palette that I used quite a bit this past month is the Natasha Denona Glam palette. I'm not sure if I took any pictures, mostly because I use this with other palettes. Like, I use this with my Pan That palette. I'll put in some swatches though, so you can see swatches of it. You can see everything reflecting in that mirror. Really, really nice palette. It's a lot of shimmers. There's only 5 mattes in here, so that's kind of why I was taking advantage of using the mattes in my Pan That palette and then just sort of topping off with shimmers in this. It's very bland and boring. That's probably why I didn't take very many pictures, and I kind of love that it's very bland and boring. When I look at this palette, I'm like, this is me in a palette. This is like my type of everyday type shadows. I really, really enjoy this palette. Quality's really, really good. The shadows are so soft. Yeah, I've been enjoying playing with this. Really, really fun. I guess spoiler alert for the next section, I'm going to continue using this for the month of December because I feel like I still feel like I didn't use it enough because, again, trying to use the other palette, the Pan That palette, and then the Celestial Storm palette. I also used this little quad for the month of November. This is the Ariza Astral Amethyst Shimmer Eyeshadow. It's a little foreshadow quad, and I took this home with me when I went home, so that's the other reason why I didn't use much on that Pan That palette, because this was the only shadow I had with me. Again, I'm not sure if I have very many pictures of this. I might have one. Really nice shadows. Like, the quality is really good. I like the shades. $20 for this little pot? I don't know about that. I wouldn't pay $20 for it, but yeah, nice little quad. Really enjoyed these shadows for this past month. I think this was where I was going in November in my mind, so that's, I think, the other reason why I struggled with that Celestial Storm palette. And I also had this other little Color Workshop quad. This is like just this little pink and purple quad thing. Again, these are quite nice little eyeshadow quads. I enjoy them. The pigmentation isn't like stellar, but they're the kind of shadow that are easy to use because they're not like super pigmented. And I felt like, again, I was able to mix this with my Pan That palette or like some other neutrals and mix it, yeah, with other stuff. So I do enjoy this little quad, and I will be keeping this one. I also use this Ace Beauté single in, this is the Glimmer Shadows in Ice Latte. The only thing I'll say about this one is it's just a little more orange than I would like. I wish this was more cool tone. The shimmer on this, like this eyeshadow, is so nice. To me, it's creamier than Super Shock shadows, although I've been very unlucky with my Super Shock shadows. They've always kind of come a little bit smooshed. But yeah, like this, very, very creamy, very, very smooth, very, very shiny. I think I only used it once in the entire month, but yeah, I really like these. I like the other shade. I don't know if I like the other shade more, it's just different. The other shade's very bright, so it is hard to wear as well. It's like a bright pink that I have. I know that they came in 2 other colors. They came in like a fuchsia color and or like a purpley pink color and a silver color that other people got in BoxyCharm. This was from last year, I think. I don't know if they come in any other shades. I should look online and see if they do, because they're really, really nice. And then I did play with these 2. These are the eye crayons from Color Workshop. One is a silver, one is a gold. And I'm going to keep these and continue to use them every once in a while. I liked them as a base. They worked really nice, especially the silver one worked really nice with the Glam palette. And yeah, but on their own, they don't quite work on their own. The pigment's not consistent enough. They're not, yeah, there's just not enough pigment in them to use on their own. It looks a bit streaky and it's a little, yeah. Especially the gold one looked a bit weird. Actually, they both did. They both kind of looked a bit weird just on their own. So they work nice as a base though, and I think they give a little bit of a different tone to the eyeshadow when you use these as a base. So. And then I had 3 face products that I used for the month. The first one was this Too Faced Chocolate Soleil bronzer. I didn't really use this a whole lot. I used this a handful of times. It is fairly pigmented. Compared to my Franken bronzer, this is definitely more pigmented, so I had to be a little bit more careful with this. But it is quite a nice little bronzer. It doesn't really smell. I think it used to have a smell, but it doesn't really smell anymore. I also use this blush. I actually use this one quite a bit. This is the Annabelle Perfect Blush in the shade Pronto. Again, a nice, fairly neutral blush. I liked this because the blushes in my project pan are very pink. So it was nice to take a break from that and use this, which meant that my Tarte palette didn't have as much usage because I was using that blush. And then I had this little highlighter. This is the Kevyn Aucoin Celestial, I think something or other, Celestial powder in Candlelight. Again, it was nice to use this as opposed to what's in my Tarte palette because that's very glittery, whereas this is just very like, very, very natural type highlight. So it was nice to have something a little different to wear. And that's it for the month of November. Now we're getting into December. So like this is the last month of this project for this year. So it's kind of weird. It's very, very anticlimactic in a way. I actually feel like I'm burning out a little bit. So again, kind of keeping it pretty tailored. I'm not using a whole lot. So obviously I'm using my Pan That palette. I'm going to continue to use this palette because I want to keep playing with this. It's so pretty, and yeah, just want to keep playing with this. My buys and buys video will go up before this, so I know I've already talked about this. This is the I Heart Revolution Snow Globe palette, the penguin version. And again, I want to play with this a little bit more. It's a little bit warm toned for my liking. And it's definitely not a palette that's very self-inclusive. Like I feel like I need to use this palette with other palettes. But yeah, I just want to play with this a little bit more because I just bought it. And then I've been really wanting to play with this palette, and I keep overlooking it every month because it's such a large palette. I'm like, I already have a lot in the monthly selection. If I put this in, it's too many shadows. So this is the Too Faced Natural Lust palette. It's got 30 eyeshadows in it. I did an entire video on this. I haven't looked at that in a while, so I don't know quality wise how good it is. But I do really enjoy this palette. I'm pretty sure there's like one, I think it's this shade here, Love Spark. There's one shade here that's a dud. I think it's this one. But I do want to play with this some more in the month of December. Just a nice, very neutral palette, a little bit more warm, I don't know if it's warm tone, a little bit more pinky tone, I guess, than the Glam palette. So it would be nice to sort of mix and match these two palettes. Again, because the 3 big palettes I have are, well, actually all of them are all fairly neutral tone, they're going to take away from my Pan That palette. So I know my Pan That palette probably won't have, it'll probably be very similar progress to November. I also did pull these little singles. These are the L'Oreal Infallible singles. I have Amber Rush, bronze taupe, and another iced latte. I think it's so funny that there's 2 different iced lattes, that they're totally different. Just kind of pulled these to play with them. I don't know how much I'll use them, but I am wearing the bronze taupe today, sort of all over my lid, with a combination of the Glam palette and my Pan That palette. So kind of a lot of different eyeshadows going on my eye right now. But yeah, so I might use these, I might not, but I think I mentioned this earlier. I was doing a makeup inventory, and I was going through stuff. I was like, man, I don't think I've used these really. I don't think I pulled them at all. I might have pulled out Amber Rush at one point, but I haven't really used these a whole lot this year, and I really enjoy them. They're quite nice. So definitely want to use those a little bit more. And then the last thing I have is a little face palette. So this is my e.l.f. They called it the Soft and Subtle Beautifully Bare palette, or it's Beautifully Bare Soft and Subtle. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look it online. I don't know if there's another shade. I can open this. It's very, very soft and subtle, which again is a nice alternative to my Project Pan, where I've got the Tarte, oh my god, Blush Bazaar, which has got very bright, very pink blushes, where these are kind of orange based. And again, I don't know if I'll use this. This is the bronzer. It's fairly light. I don't even know if that'll show up on me, but I have used the highlighter, and I am wearing this blush today, so I do quite like it. It's nice to have a little bit of a different tone of a blush, and yeah, this nice highlighter again looks pretty subtle compared to what I have in that Blush Bazaar, which they're kind of glittery. They're definitely a little intense for my everyday liking. So yeah, this is the sort of face products that I want to use for the month of December. Future Anne here. Forgot to mention that I wanted to include this palette. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Film Star, what do you call it? Film Star Bronze and Glow. And this was the limited edition packaging from last year. So I definitely wanted to use this month as well. And this is just what the inside of this palette looks like. And just a couple swatches on the back of my hand there. And these are pretty heavy swatches. I really tried to build it up, so it's a very very subtle type palette, which is actually kind of nice. So that's it. That's my last update for this project. So I don't really know how I'm gonna do a finale for this. I have my little book here where I listed everything. I don't know if I'll go through all of that. I think what I'll just end up doing for my last video will be the palette updates, my Pan That palette, and then just the review of the November palettes, which really technically there's only one new one. Well, nothing's new. Yeah, technically nothing's new because I've used everything here. So yeah, it's very like I said, kind of anticlimactic. I'm like, and we're done. But I am feeling a little bit burned out. I don't want to pressure myself to do a bunch of looks. I don't want to pressure myself to do a palette video. I just want to leave it at that. So that's my Pan That palette update number 11. If you like this video, feel free to give it a little thumbs up down below. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my tiny little channel here in Toronto, Canada. I hope you're doing well, and I'll see you sometime soon. Bye.